So for those of you, again, who have not met me, Tom Moore, Senior Account Executive here on the DualEntry team. Today, to give you some background on DualEntry and where we come from, we are an AI native ERP, and ultimately from the ground up, our founders, Ben and Santi, wanted to build an ERP that had AI in mind, not just bolted on as an after effect, for any industry from SaaS to expanding, as you see here, venture capital, fintech, crypto, and just expanding from there. Ultimately, Ben and Santi at their previous company were working with over 30 to 40 different entities, trying to move off of QuickBooks to NetSuite after months of implementation headache, as I'm sure many of you can relate to, um, and not actually ever really getting live and knowing where their data sat. They decided upon moving into creating DualEntry that this was the idea that was going to change the landscape and really invest, that next step into. Um, we're focused here on building that world-class financial product for every suite, every vertical, as you can see there, and being able to provide that, creable level of data for faster close, easier migration, and being able to manage the entire financial stack with less headcount, less headache, giving you more time back in your day to make those data-driven decisions and move faster, lighter, and at less cost. So what I'm going to jump into today is our revenue recognition module. For those of you in the SaaS world, I'm sure you're used to handling RevRec in Excel spreadsheets manually. If you're using a legacy vendor, maybe there's an additional cost bolt-on feature set that doesn't cover really everything you need. It can be a bit of a headache to set up and maintain. So we're going to show you from the DualEntry side of things how easy it is to handle revenue recognition connected to HubSpot, Salesforce, handling those contracts, those postings to the GL, and the entire process at scale. So without further ado, I'll jump right into the platform. As I mentioned, we have integrations with both HubSpot and Salesforce. So upon closing a contract, we're going to be able to automatically create and structure contracts for approval directly within this module here. See in our revenue recognition module. You can see the overview. We have our contracts. You can create different drafts, see what's structured for approval, those that are under for additional review, those that have been completed, and those that have been archived. We can also structure additional templates. So if you are creating a few contracts a month directly within DualEntry, make that process easy as possible, and I'll jump into that in a moment. And you can create and go through your contracts on the fly here. You can see we have also able to source payments directly from Stripe. We have a fully built out Stripe integration. And all of this documentation for HubSpot, Salesforce, and Stripe are all on our public docs page for anybody who's interested to dive in deeper. And you can see here we have all these demo contracts that we've built out, and I'm going to jump through today. And really, again, the value here that we want to highlight is making this process as seamless as possible to be directly within your full stack ERP, so you're not doing all of this separately, and then you're able to access that data, that MRR, ARR, sales data specifically, and roll it up into your reporting directly within your ERP for further querying and understanding and report structuring without, again, having to spend all of that extra time and resources to handle this externally. So the next piece I want to jump into is the creation of a new contract. And I'm going to use one of our templates as an example here. So I'll use our SaaS template. As you can see with this contract, you have contract name. We're just going to call it SaaS contract for today because I'm the most creative person in the world. Not really. We have the different company. We have the different customer, which will take a nice little trip to Milan today for those of you that are Italian or love Italy. Big thumbs up. We're going to be able to structure the contract date. So we'll structure the date as today's close date and the contract start date to be the same day. For the contract end, we'll make it after the 12 months. We could also do a specific date or ongoing contracts as well. We'll structure it for 12 months, just for the sake of this example. We have additional details. So the currency, transaction currency, we have over 190 different currencies to select from DualEntry. A large foundational strength of ours is handling multi-entity, multi-currency, and automation at scale. So you have access to those different currencies for different structure. I said a memo, additional terms for net 15, net 30, and others that you can create. Those are just the examples we have within the demo today. The default AR account, any custom fields such as lead source or closing date that you want to add. And as part of our migration process, we make this as simple as possible for those of you on QuickBooks and Xero. We have next day migration, which we can migrate transactional level data in under 24 hours. For those on Sage and NetSuite, we have a full white gloved internal service to be able to help you migrate efficiently, effectively, and not on the typical 6 to 12 month timeline, but a much shortened 4 to 8 week timeline, depending on the needs and what's scoped out. So as part of this, we have the midlife revenue. We have we could structure the cutover month and the prior recognized amount to be able to handle that as we're migrating contracts over and onto DualEntry to be recognized further moving forward. You can set any termination dates, and we have different payment methods. So ACH, direct deposit. We also have integrations with Stripe and others that you can structure here as well. And you can add any attachments. So if you want to add that contract PDF, doc, order form, the PO, any of it, you can add that down here. So what I'm going to go to next is structuring performance obligations. For this draft, you could see it auto pulled up those performance obligation and the Ultra plan, for example. And I want to remind you too, via our HubSpot and Salesforce integrations, we'll be pulling these in based on the contracts that are created within Salesforce or HubSpot. So this will be auto-filled. The only piece that would be structured for approval would be the recognition schedule that you'd want to select. So those options could be straight line prorate daily, prorate first and last, straight line even periods, one-time fees, for example, implementations, or usage-based. And as many tech companies and companies in general are moving towards adding additional usage-based components to their contracts, especially with the rise of AI, credit consumption, and handling those key pieces, we've built this out with that in mind. So we have a very robust API where we can pull in any of that usage data. We can also upload via CSV or additional connectors to be able to automate that process either fully or as much as possible, depending on your needs. And we're able to add those components into these different performance obligations that we're structuring directly within our revenue recognition module here. So as you can see, we have our Ultra plan. We're going to set a contract rate of 100,000 because again, I am incredibly creative with everything that I'm doing today. Little self-deprecating humor never hurt anybody. Here at DualEntry, we call our dimensions, if you're familiar, classifications. So you can structure and create as many classifications as possible with no additional overhead for additional reporting granularity. So if you want to add any different classifications by different performance obligations that we have here, you're able to structure those as well. We also want to highlight able to set different contract rates and different SSP rates in accordance with ASC 606 standards for when you're structuring the allocations at scale here. And we can decouple the recognition for revenue recognition and the invoicing schedules. So if we have our straight line even periods, I'll add a 10% discount there. You'll see that schedule be pre-populated here over those 12 months. The recognition schedule is going to be structured accordingly within this module here. And then we can set, again, decouple the invoicing component. So we can exclude an invoice or set different terms. So net 30, we'll say the frequency is going to be one time. So paid up front and then recognized over that 12-month period on a month-to-month basis as it's delivered. And there's a lot of power in being able to decouple that. And we have separate reporting as well for waterfall reporting, where you're able to see it on it by an invoice level and by a revenue recognition level for additional data insight, right? So we have these terms here. And we can also structure, I want to highlight an auto-renew component to the different performance obligations. And let's just say I want to add one more, and we're going to make this an implementation onboarding one-time fee. We can then structure that as one time. It's pre-populated, filled up, make it easy for us. Contract quantity, the amount. You can see the revenue recognition component for the scheduling, as well as invoicing. And we can structure that as another one-time fee and set the auto-renew if we would like. And you can see down here, the roll-up, you can auto-renew the entire contract or on a performance obligation by performance obligation basis. So from there, when we're going through the remainder of creating an example contract here, we can jump into the allocated plans. So you see the Ultra plan and implementation and onboarding structured here, as well as the allocated weight and total allocated amounts. We have the two recognition schedules, as we saw previously. They will have access to view and double check. The invoicing schedule, And then we're also able to preview the contract and what that looks like. So you'll see the total metrics, MRR, ARR, and these will be populated as the contract goes throughout its duration. See the performance obligations that you can click into for the additional granularity that we just went through, the allocations, the invoice summary, as well as the revenue recognition summary from here, as well as what those schedules are. So once we post that, what we're able to see is the started contract that's active. You can jump immediately to any waterfall, invoice waterfall, or roll forward reporting that we have available. And you're going to be able to see here too the status, however you want to say it, of these different invoices. And we can click into those invoices that are automatically generated and created from the contract going live. And as well as the revenue recognition schedule, each of these is going to be automatically posted to the GL as it hits. So you're not having to go and do it, structure that individually month over month and handle that manually. You're going to be able to handle it at scale automatically and being able to run those double checks in those workflows, but not having to do all that manual lift. What we're also able to do, and I'll jump to a different contract in a moment, we can structure different change orders. You're able to see different related records, different activity. So everything in DualEntry is auditable and permissions based. So you're able to see all of the auditable activity on a contract by contract basis here. We can go in and edit the contract within that initial term as well. And you can see here, you can duplicate, archive, create templates based off current contracts, add customer credits, and structure change orders or terminate different contracts as you see fit. So when you're structuring a termination, you can credit specific accounts with refunds or accelerate recognition, depending on how you want to structure it, and credit to specific accounts. So you can also apply an early termination fee if it is not previously depicted in the contract as you set it up from before, as well as add any additional descriptions that you would like to add upon structuring a termination. Let me go to another example contract here. What I would like to do is show how we would structure a specific change order. So I can go to here, go to add a change order. What you'll see here is setting the effective date of the change order. I know this contract started on the 12th, so I may set it for to be the following month. Where's the 12th? Set the description. If you're doing any downgrades or such, you can also apply a cumulative catch-up adjustment to be automatically posted to the GL as well to rectify that at scale from there. And you can, change any of the current performance obligation, structure any of those modifications. Or let's just say we want to add, you're doing an upsell here, and I want to add the mega subscription. You can add that from there. You can add any discounts if you would like. Again, structure the different invoicing schedules directly within this module, and we can then create that change order, which is viewable directly within the contract, and we'll update the remaining invoice summary and recognition schedules from there once it goes into effect. So we're going to automate a lot of that process for you, make it very easy, and as opposed to some of the traditional like previous processes and other vendors out there, being able to structure change orders is an absolute headache and nightmare. So this was built in mind with keeping this within the module, within the same platform, and automatically updating across the entire system once you make those changes. So the last piece that I would like to cover, we're about 15 minutes here, is going through some of our revenue recognition reporting. We have, your standard reports here. So we have your waterfall reporting, invoice reporting, roll forward, MR, ARR. You can see with our revenue waterfall report here, we have our different contracts on an entity by entity basis that you're able to then go and click through. You can structure this on a company basis, different time frames. Again, you can always export any of these reports as needed. See detail and summary view. And you can see here how that revenue is being recognized on a contract by contract level, month over month. Same thing from an invoice standpoint, since those are decoupled, you're going to be able to see when those invoices are going to hit on a month by month basis, on a contract basis, depending on if you're billing monthly, annually, quarterly, or however you're structuring any of those contracts from there. So ultimately, you're able to view all of this again within the same platform, not having to move anything to Excel, do it differently, use any additional, bolt-ons that you might have to purchase to be able to view this. It's all gonna be rolled up and connected directly within the DualEntry system. And then from a roll forward reporting standpoint, very similar. You're going to be able to see it on that contract basis, the beginning of the deferred revenue, new billings, recognized revenue, and deferred revenue from there, and can click in to any of these to see on a more detailed level on a month-by-month basis per each entity, as you see from there. So that's the sum of what I was looking to show everybody who joined today. So want to open it up to questions and being able to answer any of those on the fly here for the remaining time that we have. Looks like Max has a question. Max's question is, can monthly revenue post only once invoice is paid? For example, if the period is from the 1st of January to the 31st of December, but not paid until March, revenue for Jan, Feb, and March doesn't post until March, or is there a way to have a pro forma invoice that doesn't hit the GL until toggled or paid? So for that specific situation, excuse me, let me think. For that specific situation, I believe we'd still just it's because it's decoupled, we just invoice in March and you could still recognize that as deferred revenue for the those first 3 months. I guess it depends on how you'd want to structure it on your end or what would be how you want to structure it from there, Max. Would be curious on like what this use case is for and why the contract structured that way from a performance obligation standpoint of what's being delivered. But ultimately, that's a question. That's a good question that we could follow up on. Karen, if you have contracts that are based on usage, how do you adjust for this? So if we have usage-based contracts, let me go back to this example from here. Well, ultimately, for a usage-based contract, when you go to this Jane contract, if you're updating usage, we have a very robust API where we're able to, for that performance obligation, pull in that usage monthly as you would like to structure, or we could do it annually, quarterly, however you want to structure how that's being recognized or what the revenue recognition schedule is. And then we can update that and pull that in via our robust API, or we can update usage as you could see here for the specific obligation. You can add usage annually if you like, which we don't always recommend, or you can import it from a specific CSV and you can export all usages for additional reporting as needed. Any additional questions from anybody that's joined today? Happy to continue answering. We have about the 10 minutes left. So happy to answer anything DualEntry, whether it's revenue recognition or other questions that come up regarding the full scale of our ERP. Happy to be a resource for the remainder of the time. All right. Well, if there are no further questions, that was the sum of what the DualEntry team was excited to show and present to those that joined today. Again, name is Tom Moore. I'm a senior account executive here. Feel free to reach out to me or any member of the team if there's any follow-up questions or interest or looking to migrate and handle this within DualEntry moving forward. You know where to find us. So appreciate everybody spending the time today. Looking forward to hearing from you all. And again, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the week.